In this video, we're going to talk about chemical control, what it is, how it works, what the options are, and how you use it when it comes to wastewater management. G'day Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Tim.
So talk to me about chemical control. What we're talking about here is the context of wastewater treatment. What is it all about?
Absolutely. So chemical control would be introduced to a wastewater stream when we have to look at balancing, for instance, the pH of the water, or we have to sterilise the water if it is being used through a recycling system.
Okay, so pH I think I understand. That's sort of acid versus alkaline. There's a number, the number should be 7. Can you give me a bit more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of organisations or businesses, when they discharge their wastewater to the sewer network, will have the requirement that the water needs to be neutral.
And it's required by law. This is not just an amusing thing to do.
Correct. Neutral being 7, and we'll either be injecting citric acid or an acid, or an alkaline like a caustic soda to balance that pH.
Okay, good. And then you also spoke about disinfection. Can you talk to me about when that comes up and how that works?
Disinfection is often used when we build a water recycling system, and one of the last phases is sterilisation or sanitation of the water, just to basically kill off any bacteria that may be lingering in the water. Just like you do in your domestic pool environment. You inject chlorine to make sure that water is safe to bathe in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So why is it important to actually have these sorts of systems in place beyond the regulator not knocking on your door?
From the sterilisation point of view, it's absolutely imperative that the water is sterilised, because the water may be used to being sprayed on a car to wash it down. Right,
because you're recycling it and it's going to be used again and again.
Correct.
Okay.
So we don't want that water to be splashing in a personnel's face and it's got bacteria in it.
Bacteria bath.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Exactly, yeah. So from a sterilisation point of view, that is typically where majority of time we use chlorine injection.
Okay.
And then the other is the balancing of pH in trade wastewater.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So we're talking about pH dosing and we're talking about disinfection units. How do those two things work together, or are they always a separate thing?
It typically depends. If it is being used on a water recycling system, we will have both. So we look at balancing the water that's coming from the water recycling system. A lot of the time when businesses use soaps to wash down cars, they'll make the water quite alkaline.
Okay.
So we have to introduce an acid to balance it. At the same time, when we're sterilising the water and using chlorine is alkaline, so we need to use an acid to balance it. And I go back to the pool environment. Most people have a chlorine, and then they have a little bottle of acid, which is helping to balance the water at the same time.
Okay, good, that makes sense. And we're talking about wash bays, I know, as one of the primary applications. What sort of industries are we talking about when it comes to chemical control and wash bays in particular?
It's mainly in the food industry, where we look at the production of certain foods that may make the water either alkaline or acidic. So typically, yes, we find that our systems are going into the food manufacturing industry. And again, being used especially for other industries that are implementing water recycling, and part of that system, they have to make sure the water is balanced.
Okay, good. What are some of the things about chemical control that we haven't asked you that we definitely should know?
I suppose a few of the questions we need to ask is what is the requirements, how much water are they going through on a daily basis that needs to be balanced, and that will help determine the size of the system and to what accuracy the water needs to be balanced to. So you can get quite sophisticated systems to fairly basic systems.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. For those of you who'd like to find out more, please visit us online at bulbeckenviro.com.au. Send us an email, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk with you and answer all of your questions.